I have my tools of trades since they were taken when I was taken at gunpoint out of my office, my laptop, my gun, my laptop is gone, and then documents that I was supposed to prepare for my disciplinary, I was taken out of my office like somebody, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like a dog. And that thing is still a pain. Yeah.
Here's something that should stop you cold. A senior police general testifies at a national corruption inquiry, and 2 days later he's served with a suspension notice that, in his lawyer's words, says it plainly: you're being suspended because of what you said at the Madlanga Commission. Look at what's happening here. This is South Africa's Madlanga Commission, set up to investigate criminality and corruption inside the police, the prosecutors, the intelligence services. The man at the center is Major General Lesetja Senona, suspended head of the KwaZulu-Natal Hawks, the elite organized crime unit. He's back for a second round of testimony, and this time he's brought heavyweight advocate Dali Mpofu to fight his corner. And right out of the gate, Mpofu is laying down a marker. My client is being punished for cooperating. Someone, he says, is sitting in a back room watching this broadcast, taking notes, waiting to pounce. Is that paranoia, or is that exactly what happened to him in January? That's the question hanging over everything that follows. Keep watching, because this gets sharper. And if you want to follow this story as it unfolds, hit like and subscribe. You'll want to be here for where it goes.
For example, on the 31st of January, 2 days after the last appearance of the general here, he was served with a disciplinary notice by the police. And it said in so many words, you are being suspended because of what you said at the Madlanga Commission. Just as plain as that, it was not even hidden. So it was a direct, so somebody was sitting in some HR office watching the proceedings here and taking notes, and then they say, okay, now you're being charged. Now, I don't want to get into the legalese about incriminating yourself, but that's just a live example. By the way, that suspension...
So we just heard the lawyer set the scene. Now listen to the general say it himself. Senona tells the commissioners that after he testified in January, he was removed from his office at gunpoint, escorted out by armed officers, told never to come back. His tools of trade, his laptop, his firearm, taken. And then that line, like a dog. He says it landed him in hospital for 2 weeks. Now here's what you need to understand. Senona isn't a junior officer. He's a major general with nearly 40 years of service, the provincial head of the Hawks in KwaZulu-Natal, one of the most senior crime-fighting jobs in the province. And he's describing being treated like a suspect, stripped of everything, marched out under guard. He says he's now on his second suspension, this one tied to the theft of around 200 million rand worth of cocaine from a Hawks strong room in Port Shepstone. Remember, all of this is contested. Nobody here has been convicted of anything, but the picture he's painting is of a man who believes he's being retaliated against for telling the truth. The question is, retaliated against by whom and why? Stay with me.
I must also emphasize that although I'm still employed with the DPCI, I'm currently placed on suspension. And the suspension talks to the issues of, in the suspension letter, they say because of the storage and the theft of exhibits, which emanated from the commission, as my senior counsellor has alluded to earlier before the commissioners.
Did the suspension not lapse, or did I misunderstand?
Commissioner, if you allow me,
yes.
What happened after I've testified here, I was taken out of my office at gunpoint, and on the 31st of January, I raised the issues of safety, but a ruling was done. I was taken out of my office, escorted with firearms, and I was told not to come back to the office. My tools of trades were taken. Although it's not in my statement, I'm just bringing that under your attention that sometimes we come and testify here when we request for safety, what is it that we are facing? And ever since that day, I am not 100% well in terms of safety my safety and that of my family. And the suspension...
Let's rewind slightly because this framing makes everything else make sense. Senona's advocate, Dali Mpofu, tells the commission there's a unit, and he won't even say its name out loud, sitting somewhere in police human resources watching these proceedings, ready to turn the general's own testimony into the next disciplinary charge. He uses a deliberately absurd example. Imagine we spend all day proving the general arrived late to work 1,000 times. Interesting television, sure, but so what? Unless that lateness was in aid of aiding and abetting criminals, who cares? That's his whole argument in miniature. He's saying the commission risks drifting from its real mandate, corruption, criminal infiltration, into what amounts to a performance review that can be weaponized against his client. The evidence leaders push back hard, and you'll see that tension run through the entire day. Is Mpofu protecting his client from a genuine trap? Or is he building a shield to keep Senona from answering hard questions? Watch how this plays out, because both readings stay alive right to the end.
The terms of reference of that commission were complied or not. That's really what I'm saying. So let me make a silly example. If we're going to be saying that General Senona was always coming late at work, right? It might be very interesting and dramatic for television that he came late so 1,000 times. Yeah, but the answer is, well, so what? Because that can only be relevant if, as Commissioner Kumalo says, that was in aid of aiding and abetting and all those things that are in the terms of reference. Then it's clearly relevant. But if it, as an end in itself, that is a serial latecomer, well, who cares? That's the issue about...
So we've heard the general feels hunted. Now here's the heart of his fairness complaint. Senona tells the commission that at least 3 witnesses gave evidence implicating him in the drug seizure and storage, and the commission only handed him their statements late on a Friday afternoon, 2 days before his own statement was due. Think about that timeline. You're a witness facing serious allegations, and you get the case against you 48 hours before you have to respond. He points to fellow officers, a brigadier, a retired colonel, and lays out the dates. His argument is simple and, on its face, reasonable. How can I answer accusations I haven't properly seen? But here's the counter the evidence leaders keep returning to. They say Senona was never called as an accused. He was called as the head of the unit, the man where, as they put it, the buck stops. Not because witnesses fingered him, but because he ran the place the drugs vanished from. 2 completely different framings of why this man is in the chair. One says victim, one says person responsible. Keep watching, because the drugs themselves are where this story really opens up.
The request has not been met. At least 3 witnesses have given evidence implicating me in the drug seizure and storage of 22 June 2021. A 4th is set to tender evidence via audio link and in camera. The first of these witnesses to testify was Major General Flynn. His statement was filed on the 4th of May 2026, and he gave evidence at the commission on the 5th and 6th May 2026. The second witness was retired Lieutenant Colonel Prinsloo. To date, the date of his redacted, so I do not know when his statement was filed with the commission. So which means the date he disposed this statement, I'm not aware of it. In any event, he testified on the 7th, 11th, and 18th May 2026. The commission only furnished me with their statements late afternoon on Friday, 29 May 2026, a mere 2 days before my own statement had to be filed with the commission on the 1st June 2026.
Now the evidence leader goes on the attack, and this is where it gets forensic. Senona wrote a factual report to a senior general after the drugs were stolen. The evidence leader says that report is full of factual inaccuracies, and that by signing it, Senona misled his superior. Watch the general's reaction. He doesn't just disagree, he takes it personally. He says he never misled anyone, that the report was drafted for him by his brigadier, that he read it, was satisfied, and signed it. His defense is essentially, I'm a manager, I rely on the people below me, just like you commissioners rely on your staff to draft letters. It's a revealing window into how this whole system works. Senior officers signing off on reports they didn't write, about scenes they never visited. One specific claim becomes the battleground, that the container seal was broken in the presence of operational support members. The evidence leader says that's simply not true, and points to the officers' own statements to prove it. So who put the false information in the report? And does it matter whether it was a lie or just a mistake? That distinction is about to become a fight all of its own.
To make corrections, I made them. Then I was happy, I signed it and forwarded to General Musikidi.
I ask because the report is full of factual inaccuracies, and you signed it and you submitted it to General Musikidi. So we're going to work through those inaccuracies, and I'm going to invite your comment there too. The sum effect would be, unwittingly then, on the basis of your explanation, you to some extent misled General Musikidi as to what transpired on the 22nd of June 2021 and the circumstances under which that happened and the subsequent theft. Would you accept that?
I never misled any person.
Okay.
I disagree with the fact that I misled the general.
Okay. Now, at that document, paragraph 1.2, your last sentence, you state that the seal, that is the seal to the container on the 22nd of June, was broken in the presence of DPCI members, ORS members, and warehouse security and staff. You see where I'm reading?
Yes, Commissioners.
I don't know whether you will recall, we don't have to go there, I'll give you the reference number. In your statement in January, to this commission at paragraphs 80 and 81, just for the record, you indicated that the information received from crime intelligence was of an exigent nature, and members of the DPCI and ORS proceeded to the depot to...
So we just saw the accusation. Now watch a senior general fight over a single word for nearly 4 minutes. The evidence leader says Senona misled his superior. He will not accept that word. He says if it's a mistake, call it a mistake. But misled means dishonesty, and dishonesty is a firing offense. Commissioner Sesibaloyi steps in and offers a compromise. Let's just say the report contained incorrect information, rather than that he misled anyone. And the general grabs it. I'll go for incorrect information. Why does this matter so intensely to him? Because remember the shadow hanging over this whole day, the disciplinary unit he believes is watching. His advocate spells it out. If Senona admits on record that he misled the commission, that's not a small thing. That becomes the next suspension letter. He literally invokes the American idea of taking the fifth. This is a man who is 28 days from turning 60, who says he wants to leave the police honorably after 38 years. Every word he concedes is a weapon someone might use against him. Watch how that fear shapes everything he says next, because soon he simply stops answering altogether.
This question, Commissioners. Thank you very much.
For the record, I want to say, I'm not saying that there was an intention to mislead. No. That's not what I'm saying.
But, Commissioners, if the SC is saying I misled my superior, I took it very serious, this thing. I took offense very serious because I didn't. If it's me who sat down and write this report on my own, although I appended my signature, I will say yeah, but it's not me, it's my subordinates who prepared this report, who had information to assist me to report to my superiors. So I vehemently not to agree with the SC in terms of misleading my superior.
Okay, General, can I just, I thought it had been cleared that you have said that you didn't, if she was misled, it was you didn't do so intentionally. Maybe if it is put differently, the statement that you put in the report that members of ORS, let's take the second one. the container was open, the seal was broken in the presence of ORS members. We now know from other evidence, including that statement of Govender, but we also know from Colonel Jacob, who has accepted that ORS members were not present when the seal was broken. A statement that says to General Musikidi, the statement was broken, the seal was broken in the presence of ORS members, is an incorrect statement, right? Fact. Objectively, on the basis of the evidence that we say has now been established, that statement is incorrect factually, because members of ORS tell us in their statements, and Jacob accepts that they did not witness the breaking of the seal. They were just brought in to transport, to provide transport. That's what has been established now. So I think the simple point that is being made to you is that the statement to Musikidi in your report, to General Musikidi in your report, is not a correct statement. You give an explanation where you take that statement from. You say, your NUSO, I think it is, gave you a report, and that's what he said, and that's where you get that statement. Can we agree that's
Commissioner, the way you put
fine?
it,
Yes.
it's much better the way the SC put it.
Okay.
You see, the words you are using, you say incorrect information.
Okay.
Vis-a-vis misleading.
Okay, Ms. Silo, try and use incorrect.
This is the moment the whole day has been building toward. The evidence leader asks Senona a direct question. Did he see, on the day, that the drugs weren't sealed in evidence bags before the safe was locked and he took the key? And the general refuses to answer. He says responding might come back and bite him in his disciplinary case. Now think about what's actually being asked. He was there. He's already admitted he was present when these exhibits went into the safe. The question is just, did you notice the rules being broken in front of you? But he won't touch it, because answering means admitting a failure that could cost him his job. This is the fear we've been tracking all day, made concrete. And it triggers a genuine legal showdown. The commissioners point out there's no recognized privilege that lets a witness stay silent just because he might face discipline. Section 6 of the Commissions Act, they warn, can compel answers on pain of criminal prosecution. So now he's caught between two fires, answer and risk his job, or stay silent and risk something worse. How does a man escape a trap like that? Watch what his lawyer negotiates next.
You became aware the following day.
Yes, Commissioner.
Now, coming back to Chair's question, this is something that you now become aware of. Did you take any action against those officers?
I didn't personally take any action.
Did you instruct those below you to take appropriate steps?
I think it's a mistake that I did, but Brigadier Nyoswa
Please
became
do
aware.
this. Please answer yes or no first and then explain. I'll give you the opportunity to explain. Because what often happens, witnesses do the explanation and then they say, what was the question again? Because we got lost in the explanation. So to make it easy for you, you can answer the question and then give your explanation.
If the Commissioner wants me to answer in a yes or no, I'll say I didn't take action.
Yes.
Hence, my deputy was aware. I expected him to take action.
And when he didn't take action, because you were aware that prescripts were not followed and your deputy did not take action, what did you do about that?
My mistake was not to make a follow-up if he did take the action.
Yes.
So after a tense standoff over whether he can even stay silent, the lawyer reveals why the fear is so real. Mpofu tells the commission these aren't theoretical worries. He points to the commission's own earlier report and says one of the people flagged for possible criminal investigation in that report was General Senona himself. So when the general says he feels hunted, he's not imagining it. His name is already on a list. The compromise they land on is careful. Senona will answer the questions, but where he feels exposed, he'll say so, rather than flatly refusing. It's a face-saving deal that lets the testimony continue, but sit with what's just been confirmed. This is a serving Major General, head of an elite unit, named by the very commission questioning him as someone who may warrant criminal investigation, while at the same time insisting he's a victim being retaliated against for cooperating. Both of those things are being held in the air at once. Which one is true? That's exactly what the commission is trying to work out. And the general's most emotional testimony is still coming.
So the point, the advice that we have discussed with him is that, so that there's no question, which is unfair on him because he's been so candid with this commission the whole day, to suggest that he now is evading or being shielded or whatever, that he will answer questions, but wherever he is uncomfortable because of the fear of those other repercussions, he will indicate so. So I think that's a healthy compromise. In other words, he's not going to say, I'm not going to answer that, but he'll indicate where he's uncomfortable, either because, he's not a lawyer, so he won't be able to make that other evaluation we're talking about relevance or irrelevance. But where he's uncomfortable, he'll indicate so. That's number one. The last point we want to make, Chair, is that these fears, for lack of a better word, don't come from the air. We have one of the recommendations that came from this commission, I think it was the first, or I don't know whether it was the first report. Oh, my attorney is not here. I think it was the first report, but he brought it to my attention. It's got a section that says, the matters highlighted for referral allegations of criminality. Oops. Excuse me. All right. Leonard Jr. has succeeded to make it disappear, but I'll just paraphrase what was there. In your first report, as honourable commissioners, one of the people who was supposed to have been fingered for criminal investigation, who was listed in that, was General Senona. So this is not just a theoretical fear that we're voicing here, or as it now turns out, neither is it confined to the issues of disciplinary self-incrimination, for lack of a better word. But having said that, I want to make the offer, maybe Advocate Sil will accept it, that he will answer her questions so that she doesn't think that she's being gagged, but he will, when he feels the necessity, qualify them to that extent.
Now Senona makes his core defense on the theft itself, and he stands up to do it. He walks the commissioners through photographs of the safe, and his argument is built on one idea: it would be insane to stage this. If he had the key, and he did have the key, why would anyone grind 2 holes through 20 millimeters of steel, risking arrest, making a racket in the dead of night, when you could simply unlock the door and walk out? He insists this was no inside staging. This, he says, was hardened criminals, an expert in cutting safes. Now here's the tension. Other witnesses, including his own second-in-command, Brigadier Campbell Niuswa, have suggested the theft may have been staged, an inside job, with information sold from within. The general flatly rejects the staging theory, but in the same breath agrees the information came from inside. Watch Commissioner Baloyi gently press him. What in these photos actually proves the door was closed and locked when it was cut rather than open? It's a sharp question, because the general's certainty rests on an assumption. Stay with us, because what he says next is the rawest moment of the entire day.
You want that opportunity, or you are content with the answers you have given? Remember, you wanted to...
With specific reference to the safe.
Yeah, I wanted them to flag these photos of the grinding. But I think in the process, I managed to address that it is insane for a person to open the safe with the key and come and grind double. That I wanted to show, if they can display me that picture here. I wanted to indicate to the commissioners, because now the people of the country believe I stole the drugs, and I didn't. And I didn't participate directly or indirectly in the theft of these drugs. And I'm burning inside because people came here and testified, commissioners, that they know who. If I was part of the investigation, I know I can bet with my life I would have arrested by now, knowing myself.
So we've watched this man fight over words, refuse questions, defend himself point by point. Now the armor comes off. Senona tells the commission his heart is still bleeding over this theft, that losing those drugs under his watch feels like losing a child, a wound that hasn't healed. He says he prays day and night that whoever was responsible is brought to book, and he turns the accusation back outward. Witnesses have come here claiming the thieves are known, claiming there's a link to management. So why hasn't anyone been arrested? Why is he the one sitting here explaining himself? He vehemently denies any link to the suspects. He says he doesn't even know who they are. And then a commissioner makes a quietly devastating observation. Everyone in this story distrusts everyone else. The landlord says the door couldn't be breached. The officers suspect each other. The general suspects an inside job, a unit built on trust, riddled with suspicion. That's the real picture this inquiry has exposed, not just missing cocaine, but a broken chain of people who no longer believe one another. Whether Senona is a victim or something more, this commission still has to decide. If this story pulled you in, like and subscribe and follow along, because the Madlanga Commission is far from finished.
So, commissioners, my heart is still bleeding with this theft. I want to see a closure here. The way this thing happened is like I've lost a son or a child. If you lose a child, it's not an easy thing to close. This happened under my watch. Is a sore that is not yet healed. It's still bleeding till today. And I'm praying day and night that the people who are responsible must be brought to book.
And this is just a comment really, at the very least, and this is from your evidence in January and today, but also the evidence of all the other members who were involved, who have expressed the view, as you have done in January, that, and I paraphrase, this is an inside job, as in information having been shared, right? I mean, it seems to me it's a fair comment to say the trust-based working relationship seems to be terribly misplaced, at least within the people that you've been working with on this.